And welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Kevin. Brachelle is right there. Brachelle, how are you this morning?
I'm amazing, Kevin. How are you?
I'm amazing too. We've got a great guest to talk to today who's written several books. She lost her husband 22 years ago, and she had children, and she's written books and children's books. She's got a brand new one out, and that one is Joy Overcame Sorrow. And we're going to talk to her in just a second, so stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back. There's a moment in every life when you decide to rise,
To stand taller than your fear,
to speak louder than your doubt.
to chase the vision that sets your soul on fire.
This is that moment. And here we walk it together with stories that awaken, voices that inspire,
And truths that set you free.
This is Positive Talk Radio with Kevin,
And with Brachelle,
where hope has a voice.
and that voice
Is yours. In this case, that voice belongs to Dr. Jerry Woodbridge. She's an author, she's an educator, she's a doctor, and has a doctorate, I should say, in education. And Brachelle, how are you this morning? It's nice to see you. You're just looking fabulous as always.
Thank you. You know, I'm feeling a little funky. I got one eye that's a little smaller thanks to allergies. Everything is blooming, and so I'm really trying to absorb it, but stay breathing at the same time. But it is so exciting to have the doctor here with us today because she's got some things she can talk to us about, including even things like being a grief advocate. So, Dr. Jerry, thank you for being here. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, and I'm glad to be here. Thanks, Brachelle.
Good.
Well, and 22 years ago, something happened in your life that was transformative on a whole bunch of different levels. Would you care to describe that a little bit?
Sure. I lost my husband, David Woodbridge, to colon cancer. We learned of the diagnosis on a Thursday, the day before he died, on Friday. So it was a sudden loss. He had had no chemo, no radiation, no treatment. Basically, it was a shock to my family.
Wow.
But that goes beyond a shock to your family. That's like, that is, I'm so sorry.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it is so hard. And by the way, somebody that we all know and love has checked in. Gowdy, 1971, which was when I was a freshman in high school. And I think that's so. Do you know him, Brachelle?
Yeah, that man is the reason I exist. Hey, Dad. He says hello, everyone. And listening to your story, Doctor, like, did it just pivot your entire life like that day, or did everything kind of just stop for some time?
I think pivot is a good description.
Good.
Yeah. I mean, because a lot of the advice that we're given from other people is to normalize things that first year, especially when you have children in the home. You kind of want to stabilize everything as much as possible for them. So, but, I could only do that for about a year because I needed income. So then we had a transition the second year, and that was to move to Indiana. And I took on a full-time job, and everything was new. The house was new, all of that. And then year 3 is when grief reared its ugly head again and says, "You're not ignoring me. You got to pay attention. We've got to work through this." And as a result of that, I started journaling. And then I started working with other people on grief through Young Widows Fellowship, as well as ballroom dancing. I found there were a lot of widow and widowers there, and they began to share their stories with me. So I wrote my first book. It's kind of like a widower's devotional called Trading My Sorrow for the Joy of the Lord. And then there was like a 15-year gap. And I actually wanted to do a TEDx speech on how grief moved me. I mean, how ballroom dancing moved me through grief. And the women business women just did not understand that concept. So they told me I should write a children's book about grief when I shared that I had helped some students through their grief process in the classroom.
Wow.
So that is how Joy Overcame Sorrow came about, and took me a little bit of time to figure out how to write it, and then how to write it from the child's point of view, which is essential, because in order to help children navigate grief, they do need to have these kind of stories to read and identify with. And children who do not experience grief can learn a little bit about empathy in the process of reading the book. I was also encouraged by adults who lost a loved one when they were young, and they said that they needed to read it. So I think it has a lot of universal truth to it. It's the universal experience that we're going to lose someone at some point. And there are 6.4 million children who will lose a loved one, like a parent or a sibling, by the time they are 18 in the United States. So it's essential that we have these stories for them.
Oh, absolutely. And I do have to tell you, I'm a little older than you are, and I'm a lot older than Rochelle. And there's a point in time when it becomes clear to you that, or clear to me anyway, that a lot of people are going to pass away in your lifetime. My mom is gone. My dad is gone. My brother is gone. My high school sweetheart is gone. My best friend from high school is gone, And so death is part of life, but the grief that we all experience is difficult. And I want to ask you this, because he passed away very suddenly. And so there wasn't a lot of time to prepare. There wasn't a lot of time to do any of that. And we were talking with a gentleman that he does funerals for people. And one of the things that he created, which I just dearly love, is he did matchbooks with stick matches, and he put the picture of the person on them, and he handed them out to the memorial service, because what he said is, I want you to put this in your junk drawer. And whenever you need a match and you pull it out and you use one of the matches, I want you to contact the person who is still with us, just to say, I just want you to know I'm thinking of you. Because what we tend to do is we tend to add, oh, who's that, by the way?
I'm sorry. That is my puppy.
We like puppies.
We love dogs. Yes, we do. What kind of puppy do you got?
She's a cotton poo. Okay.
What I don't know what a cotton poo is.
A cockapoo, I think.
Oh, cockapoo. Oh, hi, baby.
How
He's a beautiful dog. He loves his mommy.
Mm-hmm.
What's his name?
Her name is Jubilee.
Oh, very good. And Jubilee loves mommy.
Yes,
she does. And
so, but
another dog bark and thinks she has to protect me.
Of course, that's what they do, and she's just talking to you, and so what we found is that when tragedy occurs and there's a death, and then we go and we do the funeral, and we all get together and we bring you lasagna or whatever it is that we do to try and make the first 3 days. But then people tend to go back to their lives. And so the first anniversaries, second or third, as you've discovered, can be very, very difficult, because, the Christmas, the Thanksgiving, the Valentine's Day, and the death day, and all of those things, we need to help and reach out to people. They'll just not to say, I know how you're feeling. That never works. But just to reach out and say, I'm thinking of you. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. And I kind of talk about that in the book. There's chapter 3, casseroles and condolences. And as a kid, they're seeing all these people come in and they're interrupting, the peace and the, and the grief and everything that the child is having. So she considers all these people that are coming in, ringing the doorbell or calling on the phone as invaders because she's not happy that she lost her dad and now she's being interrupted with all these people. So,
Right.
Makes sense.
but that's how a community deals with grief. They try comfort food and, cards. And I'm like, okay, this is better. Books. Books is better because then you can pick it up when you're ready for it.
It's true.
And
Dr.
Rochelle?
Jen, I have to ask you, because there had to have been a time where you were able to give yourself, maybe for the first time, the most grace, so that you had a space within yourself to redirect everything you thought the future was going to be, right? Because there, I mean, I'm thinking, like, for one, would I even survive through that? So I am just inspired by you, truly. Everybody who loses a spouse, I could never imagine what they go through. But to think of you've got all these things planned, like your life. You chose to spend your life with them, and then all of a sudden, you're back to just you. How are you able to give yourself a little bit of space to just be okay with that?
Well, like I said, in year 3, I had a lot of questions for God at that point. And because I was like, look, I was able to choose to be a wife. I was able to choose to be a mother, but you did not give me a choice to become a widow and a single parent. So I needed to study the scriptures and find out, who does God think I am? Who does God think the widow is? And then, what kind of supports does God offer? He offers that he's going to provide for us. He's going to protect us. He has a scripture in there, woe to keep the widow's boundaries intact. So woe to those that mess with the widow. And, and as a result of that, I was like, oh, okay. So then I was able to embrace that new title of widow. I mean, I love my husband, and, I will always do my best to honor him. But, I had to learn how to live life without him.
Yeah.
And
that can be really hard.
Yeah. And the children, we're all experiencing grief the same. I mean, not the same. We're all experiencing the same grief, but our connection with the person we lost is different. So for me, I lost my husband. I lost my best friend. He was my main support person that believed in my dreams. My children lost a father. So that relationship is different, and how they dealt with it is different as well. So
I can't imagine. You go to the doctor, and then the next day you go to the hospital. What was the conversation like with your children when you came back from the hospital after he had passed away? That must have been a difficult and hard for us. Rochelle, I can't even imagine it.
Nope, and I don't want to.
exactly. Well, I mean, I understand that as well. I called the 2 families that were basically kind of watching, my daughter, she was 16 and my son was 12, and I had to call them and say, please bring them to the hospital, because it was a shock. I was in there at noontime visiting him. There was limited hours and time you could be there and how many people could be in the room and all of that, because he was in ICU. And so I went in there. My mom was waiting in the waiting room, and all of a sudden Dave just basically, his heart shut down because The cancer had already metastasized and shut down his kidneys, and basically it was organ failure. And so he basically had a heart attack, and of course they call the code blue and they make you step out. I had two different experiences with nurses. One was kind of not very compassionate, but fortunately the day that Dave died, there was a compassionate nurse because she didn't make me leave. I could still see that they were doing everything possible to save my husband's life, but it just was not going to work. So then I go out to the waiting room, tell my mom what's happening, and she's comforting me. And then I'm like, okay, but now we got to tell the kids, we got to do all this, to let them know. His brother had come out to see him, and, his dad and his dad's wife, was also there, like the day before. So anyway,
This
we're dealing with that.
Of course, and what a difficult time, but this could be instructive for my fellow men in the audience, because was he feeling poorly for a period of time before you went to the doctor, and did he wait till the last minute to do that? A lot of guys, they just don't like to go see the doctor. Oh, I'm fine.
Me neither. I think just people. You never know what you're going to get. Their doctors are also like a box of chocolates.
Well, that, and I think, sometimes there's fear, that keeps you from wanting to find out, because then if you find out, you have to deal with it. We had gone to a family wedding like the month before, and his brother and sister had come up to him and said, "Hey, Dave, you don't look so good. You need to go get checked out." And I talked to him. I said, "Yeah, let's go. Let's go get you checked out." But my husband's very straightforward. He's like, "Well, we've got this vacation plan with the wedding, and then we're going to, in a couple of weeks, we're going to go to where you're presenting your dissertation." So that was his other vacation. So he was able to go and hear what I'd been working on, and finally, for the first time, understood it. And then it was that weekend that he got sick and got to the hospital on a Sunday. Monday, they did surgery. Thursday, we get the biopsy report, and Friday, he dies. So it was that quick. And I'm not sure if we would have had any different results had he gone. But yeah, it was his choice, his decision to know, I've got to work, and then I'm going to go with you on vacation. And, and then his plan was afterwards. He ran out of time.
I'm glad he got such beautiful moments before that too, and he was able to choose that and be alongside you and understand you.
Exactly, because his support meant everything, and I'm really glad that he finally did understand what I'd been working on and what he had been able to support.
It's amazing. Love that.
And we need to take a break. And Rochelle, what shall we play during this break? What do you want to play?
Live for people. We got to start living for ourselves and living for each other. So can we do that one?
My cursor was already on it. Here is another point to ponder by Positive Talk Radio. The world is full of people who would die for someone they love. But what about living for them? Waking up early to take care of your health. Letting go of the habits that steal your years. Choosing rest instead of running yourself empty. The truth is, your family doesn't want a hero who dies for them. They want a parent who stays. A friend who grows old with them. A soul who chooses life every single day. Don't just die for love. Live for it. And welcome back to Positive Talk. My name is Kevin, and Michelle's right there, and Dr. Jerry Woodbridge is with us. And Dr. Jerry, what do you think of that? What do you think of that piece?
I thought that was wonderful.
Well, and you have been, you've been through it over the last 20 years. And by the way, how are your kids today? You had a 16-year-old who's not a 16-year-old anymore. She's in her something and stuff. How is everybody doing?
Everybody's doing fine. My daughter Julie she'll be 39 in April, and she's engaged. So she has good things to look forward to in getting married. My son married Alyssa. Josh married Alyssa, and they have two grandsons, or my grandsons. They have two sons, Titan and Atlas. And it's wonderful to see my son being a father to my grandsons, because I see a lot of my husband and how he parents.
Oh, that's really cool. And by the way, Dr. Jerry, I want to introduce you to one of our favorite people, and he is in. Well, I'll just let Rochelle. Go ahead, Rochelle.
Well, he says, congratulations and hello, watching you live from Kyberia Restoring Hope Center. Brother Kevin McDonald, Sister Ambassador Rochelle, and guest Dr. Jerry. This is our favorite program. Together we are strong and one. And I agree. You know, it's just crazy, doctor, to sit and think about the things that people experience that are just walking around us like every day. Like we could just be at the grocery store. Like there's probably a point where you had to do things for the first time on your own, right? You had to go to the gas station and you had to go shopping and you had to go to the parent-teacher conferences and do all of those things. And I'm wondering, out of those things being very difficult and challenging for you, did you also find other like hobbies and sparks inside of yourself that came out that you have absorbed that kind of help you get through grief, and maybe for your kids as well?
After 6 months, I was tired of feeling stuck in my grief. So I was driving by an Arthur Murray studio, and I had my daughter in the car, and I said, "Hey, Julie, come in with me for moral support. I think I would like to take some ballroom dance lessons."
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Egyptian salesperson, Ahmed, saw two of us coming in and got two of us signed up. So both my daughter and I started taking ballroom dance lessons. And within 5 months, we were participating in our first and only dance competition for me. But it was an international dance competition in Verona, Italy. And we went there, and I celebrated my husband's first year death anniversary. And part of the dance studio, the way this gentleman runs his dance studio, is everybody's family. He introduces everybody and teaches everybody a little bit about hospitality and, you know, dancing with each other and supporting each other. And it was just a wonderful, wonderful experience. And I continued dancing for several years off and on, and I just loved it.
That's amazing.
So it did help. It did give me a spark, Rochelle.
Good. I'm glad you have that.
Glad, and never stop dancing. Just keep on going.
Exactly. So every time I go to Fort Wayne, I have a bunch of friends there that, I ended up going dancing with. And my best friend's a ballroom dance instructor.
Oh, that's really neat. You know what's really cool, Kevin, is we talk to so many people that go through so many different forms of grief, and moving your body is probably the number one thing that people will say, that's what kind of pulled me out of whatever hole I was in, was to move, whether it's riding a bike, dancing, hiking, running. People like to run, all these cool things. Do you now help people try to engage that spark when you see that there's not a lot of movement in their life when they're going through that grief process?
Well, I think it's everybody has their personal choice. Some people, may dabble in the arts, or they may start writing, or they may
Yep,
start journaling.
very true.
Um, it's kind of whatever that person needs.
Mhm.
And so ballroom dancing was something I had never done before. Uh, I think my husband and I had taken my daughter and to like one of her birthday things was to learn East Coast Swing.
Oh, cool.
And so it was a Christian organization that was sponsoring it. And so we went and took a bunch of our girlfriends there. And my husband, um, his family was involved in the Nazarene ministry, and they weren't necessarily promoting dance, but he actually enjoyed it.
Oh,
he said, "Yeah, that was a lot of fun."
yeah.
So, um, and of course, in the book, I have to have a father-daughter dance
Yeah.
moment where they're getting
Of course.
ready
Yeah.
to go to a father-daughter dance, but unfortunately, it becomes a never will for Joy. So those are those moments that, that you imagine are going to happen in your future, but when you lose that loved one, it's a never will. However, she's got the memory of dancing with her dad and learning how
That's
to
very
hold
true.
on to.
And I know that your faith played a great deal of comfort for you in all of this, and the books that you've written are based upon your walk and your faith and who you are and stuff. Did you when you decided to sit down and write the books, and I know they were difficult to write, but did you get some satisfaction, not satisfaction, that's the wrong word, some solace, some comfort from writing it all down and going through the process of publishing the book and putting it out there?
Yes, and clarity. Yeah, I did. And clarity. It's very cathartic
I bet.
to write about experiences. And see, I was a daughter, so I've lost my father, so I could also write from a daughter's perspective rather than just the adult. Um, so it was easier for me to write from Joy's perspective as a daughter, and because my own daughter Julie, she was also a journaler. She journaled, and
Everybody's
so
journaling.
yeah, she enjoyed journaling as well. And so, she could also share some insight,
Awesome.
as a daughter. And even when I launched the book in June of 2025, um, we had some members of our book launch team that had just recently lost their father. And even though they had read the book previously, it kind of prepared them for what they would experience, and they also had new insight as a result of now they've experienced losing a father. So
Mm.
again, it all ties in. It's really a book for everybody. Originally, I wrote it for children who had lost loved ones, and then I was told by a fourth grade girl uh, who was a colleague. Her mom was a colleague of mine, and she was just reading the chapter titles, and she was reading them aloud as her mom was having her do. And she told her mom, "Stop! I don't want to read anymore because I want to read the book." So she became my target audience, the fourth grade girl. And I said, would Zoe be willing to read this book with you to give me some feedback? And she said, "Yeah, I think it would be a good book for children who have lost loved ones, but I think it'd be a good book for everybody."
Aw. Kids are so smart.
They are so smart. So, and she became the voice on my trailer. I have a book trailer out there, and she became the voice near the end of the story where she reads about Mrs. Thornsberry was right. Um, grief is hard work and all of that. So anyway, Yeah,
It's
kids
amazing.
inspire you.
Just out of curiosity, was there any places in the book where you chose to maybe put in a journal entry that you had made that was completely raw? Like you didn't even edit it, you just put it directly in the book as it was, in a way?
What I did with the journal is put it in Joy's
Oh,
journal.
that's
So
fun.
yes, so there's like 15 chapters in Joy Overcame Sorrow. So I
Okay.
took one chapter prompt, journal prompt, and
Mhm.
put it in here. And then I put a couple so that kids could personalize their own experience. So they could begin the conversation by saying, this is how Joy felt after they got the bad news. And then their personal one would be, how did I feel after I got the bad news? And they could personalize it. So
Amazing.
part of the ending of the story, I don't want to give it all away, but part of the ending of the story is she's used her journal that her cousin gave her to record what people said at the funeral about her dad.
Mm.
But then she started using it herself. And then when she finished it, she dedicated it to her dad. And then she said, this is how Joy overcame sorrow.
Oh my gosh, that's just adorable. You are phenomenal for creating all of that for children because it is so powerful. And I think that the kids are kind of what gets left in that most times because they just keep going. They don't know any different. And
Well, they don't
I
know
love
how
that
to
you're
navigate either. They don't know what they
yeah.
need. They don't know how to express how they feel. I
Well, and
mean,
it can be really hard for the parent, especially because you don't want to put how you're feeling on them, but also you're trying to help them get through what they're going through while you're going through. So it gives them a chance to have their own safe space and
yes.
know that you're still there as a support as a parent. Because sometimes you probably just need that space in the house where you all just have a little bit of alone time, and that's got to be okay. So thank you
Mhm.
for making all of that. That's amazing.
And Rochelle, Dr. Jerry Woodbridge is our guest. And if somebody wants to go to her website and perhaps, I don't know, like buy the books, that would be great. And how do they do that?
Well, I do believe you can go to drjerrylwoodbridge.com. She's got the homepage there that tells you everything about her. And then she's got her books available, her blog, podcasts as well, and some resources. And of course, a way to contact her. And we'll talk about a little bit more of that when we come back. So visit her website, and then Kevin will have an amazing question.
Well, when we come back, I want to ask you, because you're the mother of two and you just lost your mate, did that change the trajectory of your own grief because you needed to be, quote unquote, strong for the children? I want to ask that because that is an important thing that I think can be instructive to a lot of people. Do you agree?
Yes.
And we'll be right back. There's a moment in every life when you decide to rise,
To stand taller than your fear,
to speak louder than your doubt.
to chase the vision that sets your soul on fire.
This is that moment. And here we walk it together with stories that awaken, voices that inspire,
And truths that set you free.
This is Positive Talk Radio with Kevin,
And with Rochelle.
where hope has a voice.
And that voice
Is yours.
If you're a woman running a business and feeling stretched, overwhelmed, or stuck in reaction mode, this isn't a you problem. It's a CEO shift problem. The Women's Success Summit is where women entrepreneurs stop working in their business and start leading it like the CEO. You'll leave with clarity, strategy, and an action plan that you can actually use right now. If you're serious about your business and your growth, this room is for you. Don't miss the Women's Success Summit, April 13th. Connect with a community of powerful women and gain real strategies to grow your business. Seats are limited. Register at p2q.link/summit26.
And welcome back to Positive Talk. My name is Kevin, and Brachelle is right there, and Brachelle's dancing. I think you need to take ballroom dancing, Brachelle. I think that you'd have a big kick about that. And Dr. Jerry Woodbridge is with us. And 22 years ago, she lost her husband. She had a 16-year-old and a 12-year-old. And in that process, because you were still mama bear and you still had responsibilities for your children, and so your grief would have been different in the beginning because you were concerned about what was going on with them, I'm assuming. And so did that make your grief different, longer? How would you describe the process that you had to go through? Because your process took at least 3 years.
At least. So, sorry.
You're good.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah. No. Yes, it's more complicated when you're having to consider your children and having to realize that they're going to grieve differently than you. One of the things I was not aware of was that my 12-year-old son started having panic attacks. So that was something that he just thought he was going to die like his dad. And so that was something that, parents were not mind readers. We don't know everything. And if the children don't have the vocabulary to be able to express themselves, to say, look, I'm feeling really bad, mom, like I can't breathe, that kind of thing, then we don't know what's going on with them. And I think a lot of times even boys, especially if they lose their dad, they're not going to come readily and talk to their mom necessarily. They probably want to talk to another guy. And so when my son was 15, he was struggling, and he was struggling with our new move. He was struggling with school. He was struggling with everything. He was starting to experiment, to try to help him feel calmer. And he and I were clashing, and he finally told me, he goes, Mom, you need to let me go back to Florida. That's where we were from, and live with my best friend who had a dad. And that's what he needed to be able to finish his grief. So,
Well, congratulations for that, for understanding. And also, by the way, the relationship that you had, that he was willing to come to you and talk to you about it. Because that's one of the things about children, especially boy children who lose parents or lose their dad. They don't talk much about it, but it can manifest itself in a lot of different ways, and panic attacks are one of them.
right. So, that's what he needed. My daughter got into the ballroom dance, started becoming a ballroom dance instructor. At that point, she's very creative. She started exploring a lot of different educational options at that point, to honor her creativity. And my husband would sometimes sneak into her room and read her journals because he just wanted to know what was going on in her head. I mean, he wasn't like going to use it as a weapon, but he just wanted to know what she was thinking about.
I'm not sure that I want to know what a 16-year-old girl's thinking about, quite frankly.
If you had a daughter, you would.
I am so glad he taught her to drive.
Yeah, I had two sons. I don't know. I don't know what it would have been like to raise a daughter, because that's a whole different thing, raising a daughter, because you're so protective of them. and you want to protect them. And in some cases, you're protecting them from themselves because there's the experimentation and there's the pull of social media and friends and things that they want to do and stuff like that. It can be very tough. And by the way, we're talking with Dr. Jerry Woodbridge. Go to her website so that you can get her book, because it's an important piece, I think, because everybody, I don't know anybody anymore, because I'm a little older now. I don't know anybody who has not experienced grief or the loss of a loved one. And Michelle, go ahead and talk about her website and all that kind of good stuff.
Yes, everybody visit her website. drjerrylwoodbridge.com is where to go. She's got all 4 of her books there: Joy Overcame Sorrow, Joy's Journal, Trading My Sorrows for the Joy of the Lord, and Anchored in Grief, Lifted by Grace. I love that you've made all of these so easily and beautifully available on your website. And I want to kind of follow off of what Kevin said too, because I was looking at your book about, you kind of had to break open and learn to be vulnerable with yourself. But was there a point in time that you did that with your kids as well? And did it bring you closer together, or did it push everything away and make you have to learn to be grateful for each other?
That's an interesting question. I know my son returned. I'll explain it this way. When my son returned, it was just before his 18th birthday, and he came back, and we both had our apologies ready because we missed each other. We love each other, and sometimes there is conflict when you're going through grief. And I'm trying to be the single parent, mom and dad, which really you can't be, and holding down the law and holding the standards, that our family values and all of that. And my son had to learn that every family has those. So, and he's passing his values on to his sons, so he has a better understanding of that. My daughter, she feels things very deeply.
Before you go past that, I got to tell you, because
Sure.
the more metamorphosis that a young man goes through when he leaves teenagerhood and then becomes a father. And then I imagine at one point he came back to you and said, Ma, I now get it. And I didn't get it before. Did you guys have that conversation?
Yeah, I guess.
I
mean, some of the things he was like, Mom, let's not rehash. Let's not go back there. We're done. We're moving forward. He just wanted to build the relationship from this point forward, because we'd all experienced loss. We'd all experienced just really challenging, difficult times.
Well, I can't imagine Rochelle, can you imagine how difficult it would be to lose your parent as a teenager and then have your mom be a single mom of 2 teenagers, by the way, which, as my cousin so aptly said, when my son turned 13, he rolled over in bed and his brains fell out. And he didn't get them back until he was 18 years old.
Hey, that's lucky. That's quick.
That's that chemical brainwashing that's happening all in their brains.
Yeah.
They can't really control it.
That's all the hormones and all the stuff, and then all of a sudden, girls don't seem quite so annoying as they used to be, and all that kind of good stuff. So it makes it quite an interesting experience, especially as a single mom. But you did great, and the kids came out great, and they and stuff. So you should be proud and congratulate yourself on the job well done.
Yes.
Thank you.
You don't always know what you're doing as a parent. I'm very aware of that. I don't have my own, but in a way I do. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't control them. I just have to teach them. But do you know how often it makes me go back to my mom and just be like, wow, I'm really sorry. I understand now, but also for advice. I think it's made us, everything we've gone through and everybody we have lost between me and my mom, it makes us be able to lean on each other a little bit more because we have that understanding of something we went through together. And I love that you mentioned that, doctor, because the community is probably the biggest part of it. Allowing people their space, but to still be there has got to be a little bit challenging. I bet you had lots of people that maybe were hard to deal with at times, and you had to let them know you needed space. But I think it's amazing how you were able to give your children that space above all that you were going through as a parent and let them go through their grieving, even though that to me would be even harder because you want your kids to be like right there after that moment.
You do. I mean, and so when this loss happened, it affected all of us.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a shockwave, an earthquake or whatever. And we all had to struggle with our own identity because, now my children, their dad is gone. So, their dad would have been their protector so one of the questions my son asked me early on is, who's going to cook for us, Mom? Because Mom had been so busy and going to school that my husband had taken over that role where he was cooking. So, that question, I just had to say, okay, well, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So one of his first jobs was working in a kitchen. I think that's why.
He wanted to eat well. And
he wanted to eat well. And he's a very good cook. He and his wife are very good cooks. And of course, he does the man thing, the barbecue, has the big fancy grill and all of that. So.
Well, good for him. Good for him. And I hope prices come down so he can cook more more meat, because it's expensive right now. And by the way, we're talking with Dr. Jerry Woodbridge and Burchelle. If people want to find the book and go to her website, how do they do that?
Yes, everybody, please, you can find everything from her website, including a way to contact her and leave some reviews or any of the above, by drjerrylwoodbridge.com. Just go take a look. You've made it absolutely beautiful. It's such an open and peaceful space. The moment you click on your website, you can feel the energy that comes from it that you've put into it. And when we come back from this break, I'd really like to know, Doctor, what it is like now to look at everything that you've been through and think that you really did. You made it this far and you've still got so much more to do.
That's right.
And what am I going to play, Michelle? I know.
Okay.
Because Dr. Jerry said it. There is a certain amount of vulnerability that goes with you when you are in the transition like you were. So we're going to play the courage of that. We often think of courage as a shield, a thick wall to prove that we are untouchable. We believe that to be strong is to be invulnerable, hiding our doubts and our soft edges behind a mask of certainty. But true courage isn't found in the armor. It's found in the willingness to take it off. Vulnerability is the act of showing up and being seen exactly as you are, even when you cannot control the outcome. It's the bravery to say, I'm hurting, I don't know, or I need help. When we hide our struggles, we also hide our humanity. It's only when we are vulnerable can we truly connect, truly learn, and truly heal. Armor can protect you, but only vulnerability can transform you. And welcome back to Positive Talk. We're talking with Dr. Jerry Woodbridge. She's an author, she's an educator, and more importantly, she's a parent of two. And she's a single mom now. And Burchelle, go ahead and ask your question again.
Yes, doctor, what is it like to look back at everything that you've been through and see what you've overcome and look forward to what you've got going on in the future?
Well, I think it's partly through the lens of faith, the belief that God can redeem anything. that he can redeem our pain and our suffering, and he can turn something good into it.
Yeah.
So hopefully, hopefully my experience and my sharing will help another widow or another single parent or, another child to know that there's hope and that we can embrace joy again.
And I have to ask you, because you're a woman of faith, you have a belief that you will see your husband again and that he's not really gone. He is still here and he is still participating with you in your life. I can't imagine how difficult it would be if you lost someone that you dearly loved and you did not think that you would ever see them again. That would be, to me, a very, very difficult thing. And that's one of the reasons why faith is important, and faith in knowing that you and he will be reunited at one point many, 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 many years from now.
Or
Yes.
many, many, many more lifetimes.
Yeah. Do you agree with that?
I do agree that, when we believe that we will see our loved ones again, it gives us hope, gives us something to look forward to. Prior to losing my husband, I had lost babies at the same time, and my husband and I had to grieve together over those losses. But I had a wonderful friend that just she shocked me. She came up to me and she goes, "You lucky duck." And I went, "What?" I just lost 4 babies. And she's like, "You have 4 deposits already in heaven waiting for you." And I thought, that's a wonderful way to look at it.
It is. And it's very hopeful. And it's also, by the way, from my point of view, very real. So it's not a question of is it or isn't it. It's a question of it is.
Amen.
And in my humble opinion, I've done 3,000 interviews. I've talked to all kinds of different folks doing all kinds of different things, and I find that with the little bit of hope that faith brings, and that it can lessen your grief because the outcome is going to be positive. And given that, I did want to ask you, because of your faith, did you ever have a crisis where you said, "Why in the world would you do this to me?"
Absolutely. Year 3 was all about that. It really was, because I'm like, wait a minute, who am I now? Because grief does tend to change your identity in some aspect. And so, absolutely. But I found that when you're honest and you go to the Lord and you just say, "I'm very angry right now because you didn't give me a choice. You didn't even give me a heads up." So that I could prepare my children or anything. You just kind of yeah.
Doctor, I have to ask you, have you seen little ways that your husband is still with you? Does he leave you like little messages, or do you find things, or has something happened that you're like, there's no way he was not controlling that?
I only had a dream of him once.
Okay.
And it was right after he had passed away. And he used to drive this Chevy Astro van that was kind of falling apart, but that's what my daughter would drive. And I was going to purchase his father's truck. And he came to me in a dream and he said, "I don't think you should purchase that F-150 truck for Julie." And I turned and looked at him and I said, "But you're not here." And he didn't come back.
He's like, she's got it.
So, I mean, anyway, I do know he would be very proud, to see the books and things like that have come about. He would be very proud of his daughter and his son and, his children. So You know,
For me, words are very important. And I would change that from he would be to he is.
Yes. And especially for you, can we not mention that you're the reason those kids are still alive and here? So, what a blessing it probably still is to him to have had you as a wife, and to know for you that you can still carry his love forward and live in the memory of him rather than leave it all behind. You still carry him with you, right?
right. I actually had a friend at his funeral that she came up to me and she saw a vision that he was talking to the Lord and telling him, "Thank you for my wife, thank you for my family," and so that I carry that in my heart.
Good.
And I also want you to know that he is very proud of the books that you've written because you are giving back and you're creating a legacy for him as well.
Yes,
That is a really big deal, don't you think?
I do. You know, when you're writing about the father in the book, you know, I see that he's portrayed in a lot of it.
That is-
Indeed, indeed. So, and Rochelle, we're running out of time again.
This always happens. Oh my goodness. But as we close out our time, thank you, Kevin, for allowing us to be able to have conversations like this because we really need it. And Dr. Jerry, thank you for spending your time with us and taking the time to write these books and not only move forward in your own world with your family and the things you've got going, but wanting to extend that out and know that people aren't alone in the grief that they're going through. And there's a way that could maybe help them a little bit through some of your books. So I'm going to give you the opportunity to share your website and any other ways people can contact you along with your books and how they are all kind of go together. And then any message you'd like to leave us with.
Well, Joy Overcame Sorrow has won 4 awards so far. So the Chrysalis Award, the International Impact Book Award, the International Christian Book Award, and the prestigious International Hope Book Award. So, and so the last one, it's for inspirational children's fiction. So I'm very pleased about that. But my website is drjerrylwoodbridge.com. You can also get it from Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Walmart, Hope Book Publishing, all of these, usually anything that's an online resource.
And now I got to tell you, Dr. Jerry, now that you're a published author, there's got to be another book coming.
There is another book coming. It's called The Intersection, and it's about twin and sibling loss. And it's actually based on a real story that happened in my life where there were 2 boys that were driving along the highway and they were twins, and one of them did get hit and pass away. So I've always wondered, what is it like for a twin? You know, what is it like, you know, you're a twin, you're a sibling. Is there a special relationship between twins? So that is the next book that will be coming out called The Intersection.
And I firmly believe that there is a special connection between twins. When one will start a sentence, the other one will finish it. They all do the same types of things. But I want to thank you for the work that you're doing and continuing to bring a face to grief. And because as you know, your life not only changed because you were no longer married, you were now widowed, but you now were one, and all your friends and all your couple friends and all of that, those relationships naturally changed as well. So that, and I would, did you write about that in your book? Or I suggest that there's a 4th book coming.
That's kind of why I started ballroom dancing, is to create a new social network that wasn't couple friends. So I
Brilliant.
didn't realize it at the time that's what I was doing, but that's what I was doing as well.
Awesome.
Brilliant. Simply brilliant. Any last things you'd like to tell our audience, Dr. Jerry, before we go?
Sure. One more thing. I say love is the footbridge to joy and sorrow. So love is that footbridge. And that is what we're navigating when we're grieving. And that is what we navigate when we're celebrating. It's because we love that we have sorrow. And it's because we love that we have joy.
And if you listen to my favorite band of all time in 1967, they wrote a song called All You Need Is Love, because in my frame of reference, that's all there is. And Dr. Jerry, thank you so much for being here. Rochelle, go through her website, her information one more time.
Yes, everybody go to her website where you can find everything. If not, you can find it somewhere else. drjerrylwoodbridge.com. She's got all about her and the books that are available and a way to contact her. And remember, everybody, live with love and you'll find your bridge.
Oh, man, I wish I'd have said that. That's really good.
I'm learning. Thanks, doctor. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you for being part of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where stories inspire and voices remind us of what truly matters. May today's conversation give you hope, courage, and a reason to keep moving forward. And just remember, till next time, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got.